The world thinks they've buried you. They whisper behind closed doors, certain you've been defeated, broken, erased. They celebrate your ending as if your story no longer exists, but deep inside you, there's a spark that refuses to die. You know it. That quiet rage, that restless hunger, that unshakable pulse that keeps you standing even when the weight of life tries to crush you. They've mistaken your silence for surrender, but silence is only the storm before the roar. This is not your funeral. This is your resurrection. And what comes next will terrify every soul who doubted you. Stay with me until the end of this video. Subscribe, like, and let this fire remind you of who you really are. They thought you were done, didn't they? That's the first sting. The quiet betrayal in their eyes when they look at you as if your story has already ended. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's just silence, the absence of belief. They stop asking about your plans. They stop expecting anything from you. They put you in a box, label it finished, and move on. That cuts deeper than words ever could. But here's the truth. Nobody tells you. Being counted out can be the most powerful moment of your life. Because once they stop watching, once they stop waiting for you to succeed, you're free. Free from their noise, their doubts, their pressure. Nobody sees the hours you're grinding in the dark. Nobody notices the fire you're building in the quiet. They only see absence. They think absence means death. But for you, absence is rebirth. Think about it. Every great shift in your life has always come from moments where people least expected it. When you were overlooked, when you were laughed at, when you were told to sit down and stay small. That invisibility. It hurts, yes. But it also gives you a weapon sharper than anything they can hold against you. It's an element of surprise. Because when you rise from the ashes they buried you under, they won't be ready. When you come back stronger, clearer, sharper, it will shake them. They will scramble to understand how the same person they dismissed has now become the person they can't ignore. And they won't be able to trace it because they never saw the storm forming. You see, when the world counts you out, you're given a rare gift, a battlefield with no witnesses. That's where you train your soul. That's where you learn who you are without their applause or validation. That's where the real transformation happens. Because there is nothing more dangerous than a human being who has nothing left to prove and everything left to live for. Yes, it's lonely. Yes, it's brutal. To carry on when everyone assumes you've quit takes a kind of strength that doesn't come from books or speeches, it comes from pain. But that pain, that silence, that dismissal, it hardens you. It forges you into someone who doesn't just return, but returns untouchable. So the next time they count you out, don't break. Don't beg to be seen. Smile in the shadows. Let them underestimate you. Because every time they do, they hand you a weapon. Every time they dismiss you, they fuel your return. And one day soon, when you step back into the light, the shock on their faces will be the sweetest reminder that being underestimated was never your curse. It was your greatest advantage. Being counted out didn't end you. It gave you the space to become unstoppable. Rock bottom is not just a place. It's a feeling. The day you wake up and realize the life you knew has been ripped away. The dreams you once held feel shattered. The people you trusted are gone, or worse. They're still here, but indifferent to your fall. And you stand there in the wreckage of what used to be your life, unable to recognize yourself anymore. That's rock bottom. It's the silence after the storm, but it doesn't feel peaceful. It feels heavy. Every step feels meaningless. You look around and wonder how you'll ever climb out of this pit. That's when despair tries to take you. That's when the voice in your head tells you this is permanent. That this is the end. But rock bottom carries a secret no one tells you until you've lived it. Everything that once distracted you is gone. All the illusions, the masks, the false supports stripped away. And for the first time, you see the truth. You see yourself raw and bare, without pretense. That's why it feels unbearable. But that is also why it's powerful. Because once you have nothing left, you finally learn what you truly need. You can build from here. Not from the old lies, not from shallow approval, not from temporary comforts. From here, you can build on the only thing that lasts, the strength you've earned through pain. Rock bottom forces you to pick up the broken pieces of yourself and decide which ones are worth keeping. It burns away what was weak so that what remains can never be broken again. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it feels like death. But it's not. It's a rebirth. Rock bottom isn't the grab, it's the ground. And the ground is where foundations are laid. You may not rise quickly. You may stumble, crawl, bleed, but every inch forward is no longer fragile. Every brick you place now is unshakable, because you've tested it against your worst. One day, you'll look back on this collapse and realize it gave you the gift of clarity. The gift of rebuilding a life that cannot be destroyed by the same storms that leveled you once before. Because now, you're not building on illusions. You're building on truth. On pain turned into strength. On emptiness turned into hunger. On despair turned into unbreakable will. So when you feel like you've lost it all, remember you haven't. What you lost was what couldn't last. What remains is what's real. And from that, you can create something unshakable. Rock bottom is not the end of your story. It's the ground beneath your feet, daring you to stand again. And when you do, you'll never fall the same way again. There comes a moment when you realize the world never stops screaming. Everywhere you turn, someone is shouting for attention, desperate to be seen, to be validated, to be heard. It feels like a battlefield of noise. And if you don't join in, if you don't prove yourself out loud, you fear you'll disappear. That pressure eats at you. The pressure to announce your every move, to show proof of your progress, to beg for recognition just to feel like you exist. But deep inside, you know that noise has no power. Because the truth is, the loudest voices are often the weakest. They scream because they have nothing else. They shout because they need you to look, even if there's nothing to see. And when you choose silence instead, when you decide not to play their game, something shifts. At first, it feels uncomfortable. People will think you've vanished. They'll assume you're doing nothing. They'll mistake your quiet for surrender. Let them. Because silence, when you embrace it, becomes a weapon. It unsettles those who expect a performance. It confuses the ones who want to measure your life by your noise. While they burn their energy proving they are something, you conserve yours, becoming someone unrecognizable. You use the silence to build in secret, to sharpen the parts of yourself that no one else can see. And by the time they notice, it's already too late. The transformation is complete. This is the power of the unseen grind. The nights no one claps for. The mornings no one notices. The hours that don't earn you likes, applause, or validation. That invisible struggle is where your strength is born. It's where discipline, focus, and resilience harden into weapons sharper than anything recognition could ever give you. The beauty of silence is that it leaves them unprepared. They expect you to show your progress step by step, to let them track your growth so they can dismiss it or copy it. But when you move in silence, your next step is the one they never saw coming. You become the thunder after the lightning. Sudden, unstoppable. It's undeniable. And maybe that's what unsettles them most. The fact that they can't measure you anymore. They can't predict you. They can't control the narrative of who you are. You're no longer performing for them. You're becoming for yourself, so don't fear the quiet. Don't confuse it with weakness. Let others waste themselves in noise. Your silence is not emptiness. It's construction. It's the hidden storm gathering strength. And when it finally breaks, it won't need an announcement. The world will hear it whether they're ready or not. That's the weapon. That's the power. Silence isn't your absence. It's your preparation. And when you unleash what you've built in it, they'll never forget the sound. There's an enemy you face every single day. You won't see its face in the crowd. You won't hear its name whispered in dark rooms. It doesn't live outside of you, it lives inside. And it's ruthless. It knows your fears. It knows your wounds. It knows exactly which words cut deepest, because it's your own voice using them against you. You've felt it before, the hesitation that keeps you from stepping forward. The whisper that tells you you're not ready. The sudden wave of shame when you dare to want more. That voice doesn't need an army. It doesn't need weapons. It wins simply by convincing you not to try. And if you listen long enough, you start believing that enemy is the truth. But here's the reality. That voice is not truth. It's fear disguised as reason. It's doubt pretending to protect you. It's every scar you've carried, replaying itself in the present to keep you from changing. The fight of your life isn't against the people who doubt you. It's against the part of you that agrees with them. When you realize this, something shifts. You stop wasting energy trying to prove yourself to the world, and you start confronting the shadow inside. That's where the real battle is. It's in those moments you feel paralyzed. It's in the arguments you have with yourself in silence. It's in the nights when no one's watching, and the easiest choice is to quit. That's where you decide who you are. Mastering that enemy isn't about silencing it forever. It's about refusing to let it drive. You hear it, but you move anyway. You feel it, but you stand anyway. Every time you rise in spite of it, its grip weakens. Every time you take action against its command, you build a strength the outside world can never touch. Because once you've learned to defeat the voice inside, no enemy outside can scare you. The world can reject you, laugh at you, betray you, but they can't control you anymore. They can't plant doubt where you've already burned it out. They can't tell you who you are, because you face the only voice that truly could. That's why this battle matters more than anything else. Because when you conquer the enemy within, the rest of life changes. Obstacles look smaller. Fear feels lighter. Pain becomes fuel. You stop living as someone who's running from yourself. You start living as someone who has become unshakable. So remember this: the enemy within will always speak. It will always try to drag you back. But it doesn't own you. The moment you decide to rise anyway, you've already won. And once you've mastered that war, nothing outside of you will ever break you again. Pain has a way of convincing you it's permanent. In the moment, it feels endless. The heartbreak that shatters your chest, the betrayal that leaves you questioning your worth, the failure that makes you doubt your place in the world. When you're in it, pain feels like a final verdict. Like life has declared you broken and left you there to rot. But pain is not the end. It never was. It's a signal. It's the evidence that you're still alive, still fighting, still moving through something that has weight. If you were weak, you wouldn't feel it. If you were finished, it wouldn't matter. Pain doesn't come to the dead, it comes to the living. And that means it's proof. Proof that you're still in the arena, still surviving what was designed to destroy you. Think about the scars you carry, not just on your skin, but inside. The nights you thought you'd never get through, the moments you swore would break you, the betrayals that made you question if you'd ever trust again. You walked through them. You bled, you cried, you stumbled. But you're still here. And every scar you bear is not weakness. It's evidence that you refuse to stay down. The world wants you to see pain as failure. But look closer. Pain is growth in disguise. Every torn muscle is a muscle rebuilding stronger. Every heartbreak is a heart that learns resilience. Every loss clears space for something you never would have reached if you stayed where you were. It doesn't feel like that when you're in it, because growth never feels like growth while it's happening. It feels like death. But later you realize it was transformation. The proof is in you. The proof is in the fact that what should have destroyed you didn't. The storm you thought you couldn't survive became the storm that sharpened you. Pain carved into you, yes, but it carved out strength. It cut away illusions. It shaped you into someone who cannot be undone by the same wounds twice. So when pain comes, don't mistake it for your ending. Look at it for what it is: the marker that you're alive, evolving, becoming more than you were yesterday. It's not weakness. It's the strongest evidence you will ever carry that you've endured what others couldn't. Every scar is a story. Every wound is a lesson. Every ounce of pain is proof that you survived. And survival is the root of strength. Pain doesn't mean you're broken. Pain means you're still here, and that is your proof. They thought they had buried you. They thought they had destroyed something in you so deeply that you would never rise again. Maybe it was betrayal, maybe humiliation, maybe the kind of cruelty that leaves scars nobody else can see. You remember those moments when you were crushed under the weight of their laughter, their doubt, their dismissal? You remember feeling small, like the world had stripped you of every ounce of strength, and for a while you wanted revenge. You wanted to strike back, to show them the fire they lit in you. But rage has a way of poisoning the one who carries it. You can burn your entire life down chasing payback, and still, it won't heal what they broke. Because true revenge isn't about hurting them. It's about refusing to stay broken. The sweetest revenge is transformation, not the kind that happens overnight, not the kind you post about or brag about, but the slow, silent, merciless kind. The kind where you turn every wound into fuel. The kind where you take every insult, every rejection, every failure and use it to sharpen yourself into something stronger, something they can no longer touch. Think about it. If you stay angry, they win. If you stay stuck in bitterness, they win. But if you rise, if you evolve so far beyond the person they thought they had defeated, that's the moment the tables turn. Because then, your existence becomes a reminder of their failure, a living, breathing contradiction to the story they tried to write about you. Revenge through transformation isn't loud. It doesn't scream. It doesn't beg for recognition. It's quiet, patient, relentless. You disappear into the work, into the growth, into the rebuilding. And one day you look in the mirror and the reflection staring back is unrecognizable. Not because you've become someone else, but because you've finally become who you were always meant to be. Stripped of all the lies they tried to bury you under. And here's the truth. They don't get to see the real victory. Because the real victory isn't just the life you've built. It's the peace you carry. The kind of peace they will never know. The kind of peace that comes from letting go of the need to fight them, instead fighting for yourself. Revenge through transformation is the kind that echoes without you saying a word. You walk into a room and they feel it. They see what they couldn't break. They see the power that grew in the very place they tried to destroy. And that more than anything you could ever say or do is what haunts them. So no, don't waste your energy proving them wrong. Prove yourself right. Don't waste your life in their shadow. Build a life so radiant that their memory shrinks inside it. That's revenge. That's power. That's evolution. And when you finally reach that place, you'll understand. The best revenge was never about them. It was about you. There comes a moment when the crowd disappears. The noise fades. The familiar faces turn their backs. And you find yourself standing in a silence so heavy it feels like the world has abandoned you. At first, it breaks you. You keep looking around, waiting for someone to reach out. Someone to remind you that you are not invisible. But nobody comes. That's the beginning of the loneliness, the kind that digs into your chest and whispers, "You are on your own now." Most people run from that silence. They bury themselves in distractions, cling to whoever will stay, even if it means shrinking their soul. But not you. Something inside you refuses to bow. You stay. You walk alone. And in that decision, everything changes. Because solitude is not weakness. It is the furnace. It is where strength is forged without applause, without comfort, without safety nets. When you walk alone, you are forced to face the voice in your head that questions if you're enough. You are forced to meet your own shadows, the ones you've avoided for years. It's brutal, it's merciless, but it strips you down until all that's left is the raw, unshakable core of who you truly are. In that silence, you discover something terrifying, yet liberating. You realize you don't need them. You don't need their validation, their hand-holding, their constant approval. You can bleed and still move forward. You can break and still rise again. Walking alone teaches you that survival doesn't come from being carried. It comes from carrying yourself when no one else will. And that's where rebirth begins. The path of rebirth is not crowded. It's empty, it's narrow, it's lonely. But every step you take sharpens you. Every mile you walk alone adds weight to your spirit. Until one day, you no longer feel small in that silence, you feel unstoppable. The loneliness that once crushed you now becomes the proof that you can endure anything. Those who dared to walk alone are the ones who return carrying the weight of empires on their shoulders. Because they know what it means to be stripped of everything and still keep moving. They know how to rebuild without help, how to fight without cheering, how to believe without proof. And when you finally emerge from that solitude, you are no longer the person who started the journey. You are unrecognizable. Not because you've changed into someone else, but because you've burned away the weakness that once chained you. You stand taller, not because anyone lifts you, but because you have learned how to rise without hands beneath you. So let them doubt you. Let them leave you. Let the world believe you cannot stand alone. Because when you return, you will not be asking for a place at their table. You will be carrying a throne carved from every night you survived in silence. That is the power of walking alone. That is how you rise unstoppable. They thought they buried you. They thought silence would erase you. They thought if they broke you down deep enough, you'd never claw your way back. And for a while, maybe they were right. You lay there in the dark, suffocating under the weight of betrayal, rejection, humiliation. The world convinced you that you were finished, that your story had reached its end, before it ever had the chance to begin. But here's what they never understood. The soil they tried to bury you in was never your grave. It was the ground where you were planted. And in that darkness, in that crushing silence, something inside you began to shift. At first, it was just survival. Breathing when your chest felt like it would cave in, standing when your legs trembled under the weight of it all. But survival has a way of turning into defiance. And defiance has a way of turning into rebirth. They wanted you small. They wanted you broken. They wanted you invisible. But every wound they left in you became a doorway to strength. Every scar became a reminder that you didn't just endure, you transformed. The version of you that crawled out of that darkness is not the same person they tried to destroy now. You are the storm they prayed would never come. The ones who laughed at your silence will hear your voice again, but this time, it will shake their walls. The ones who fed on your weakness will see you rise, but this time, it will be with a strength they cannot touch. The ones who thought they could erase you will discover the truth. You became everything they feared you would become. Because rising doesn't just restore you, it remakes you. It turns your pain into presence, your rejection into fire, your isolation into armor. You are no longer chasing their approval, no longer begging for a place in their world. You carry your own world now, and the weight of it is enough to crush everything they built on lies. One day, they will see you again. Not as the broken soul they abandoned, but as the living proof that their attempt to bury you only planted something they could never kill. And in that moment, it won't just be surprise in their eyes, it will be fear. Because the silence they once forced upon you has turned into a roar. And the shadow they cast over you has risen into a figure towering above them. You don't have to seek revenge. Your very existence, your rise, your unshakable presence, that is the revenge. They tried to run from the thought of you, but now your return will live in their nightmares. You are no longer the victim they left behind. You are the fear they tried to escape. There was a time when breathing felt like defiance, when just opening your eyes in the morning was a war you didn't think you could win. You weren't living, you were dragging yourself through the ashes of everything that burned you down. Betrayal stripped you bare. Loss hollowed you out. Enemies thought they had written your ending. And deep inside, you almost believed them. But then, something shifted. You didn't stay down. You didn't surrender. Somewhere in the silence of your pain, you realized that survival was not the final chapter. It was only the beginning. Because surviving is proof of life, but rebirth is proof of power. Rebirth is not about going back to who you were. That version of you died in the fire. Rebirth is about stepping out of the wreckage carrying a strength you never imagined you could possess. It's about understanding that every scar carved into your skin is a signature of survival. That every tear you shed watered the soil for something unshakable to grow inside you. Your life now is more than breathing. It's more than existing. It's a statement. Every step you take forward declares, I was not erased. Every win you carve out of the chaos whispers, I am still here. Every moment you live fully without bowing, without breaking, becomes proof that the ones who tried to end you failed. Do you see what you've become? You're not just alive. You are the living aftermath of everything that tried to bury you, and that makes you dangerous in the most powerful way. Because you've already lost what was meant to destroy you. You've already walked through the fire they swore you'd never escape. And now, nothing can touch you the same way again. Living as the rebirth means your very existence is a mirror they cannot face. They see you smile when you should have been broken. They see you rise when you should have stayed on the ground. They see you breathing, building, winning, and all it does is remind them that their attempt to erase you only made you stronger. And the truth is, you don't even live for them anymore. You live for you. You live to taste the air that once felt heavy. You live to walk paths you never thought you'd reach. You live to show yourself that no betrayal, no loss, no enemy can decide the end of your story. So look at yourself now, alive, unbroken, reborn. Your life is not survival anymore. It's proof. Proof that nothing could erase you. Proof that you are here, unshakable, unstoppable, undeniable. You are not living as who you were. You are living as the rebirth.